My name is Rion Naus, and I am a stewardship ambassador. And I work through and with people all over the country to achieve our bigger goals. Steward is the person who attends to you. The easiest way I like to describe it is a steward is they care for those along for the journey. Right? They don't want you in the engine compartment, stay off the bridge, enjoy the water slides, the buffets, awesome. Enjoy it all. So the steward is the one who cares for those along for the journey. A ward is a reference of both someone you care for as well as where those are cared for, like a hospital ward, right? But you could have a child that you're in charge of or in care of. That is your ward as well. So steward is taking care of those along for the journey. Well, first I was an ambassador, right? So this is where the stewardship also bridges a gap. And so I have found and tracked and connected with different people who are doing their best to steward their systems, their world. And depending on how big a picture they have, it is the whole world, and maybe even off planet for some individuals. But I started because I saw a real need, a missing piece, and it felt natural to fill that. That's me. And so I have, I think more so than people realize, listened to what was being said. And so when a community of people that I respect and honor say, we need more educators, I'm the first one in line that says, I'm educating. Or we need more stewards, and I'm out there being an ambassador for caring about things that most people don't care about, much less understand. And so for the last 6 years in particular, but my whole life, I've been doing this. Well, I do have some selfish intent because I want to eat healthy bread too, right? And so even though I'm trying to help the greater good and work with farmers so that wheat doesn't have these chemicals on it, I hope to be able to just go to the store and know that it's not covered in poison. And so there is some selfish reason. It's definitely connected to livelihood. I do lots of different business things, but I also just want to eat food. This is where it goes very basic. I have children. I want them to be able to have a muffin and not also have this high, hitchhiker, along for the journey that causes a lot of problems and conflicts, and either from life experience or from academic or other experiences, we don't want those consequences in our life. There's books all about the consequences to what most people don't even think about. And so I am a father. I am my son's father. They are my sunshine. I get up in the morning to be greeted by the sun. This is where I'm so grateful. And of course with that, that's my responsibility. What can I do to make this world that we find ourselves in a better place for everybody, but me too. I'm part of the everybody. And so I work with anybody who actually is trying to accomplish that as well. And so I work with a lot of farmers for different crops. I work with different producers. I work with supply chains. If we expect the bakery to, know what it's like to cook wheat, there's a gap. And so they just want really good, healthy wheat, and they will buy all of it. But if there's a gap, it's not going to happen. And so I try to fill those gaps and help anybody who needs it. There really are some jobs that it requires two people. But when the person's out there doing it by themselves, they'll never be able to do what two can. And so sometimes it's showing up in person to get that hindrance out of the way so that progress can finally be made. I educate and I equip. And sometimes that's with tangible tools. Sometimes that's with know-how. Sometimes it is my own hands that have helped to equip. But really it's in helping people realize that the survival mentality that causes and leads to so many problems is not the goal. Our goal is to thrive. And so I teach different practices and techniques to be able to do that at scale. The same principles apply to an individual though. And so this is where I call it a through line, but it's when it's good, very good, it's all in alignment. right? And so if it's in alignment, it's good for the little teeny tiny creature, it's good for this creature, it's good for the environment and ecosystem we find ourselves in. Because if it's not good at any of those points, then it's not good, right? You see what I mean? It's sometimes it's pretty simple, but there's a lot of confusion within the industry, within the tools that we use. There are some people that don't even think that it's a living system, and so at that point there's a massive amount of education. It's very humbling, and eventually they get to a place where they yield, not just in numbers on their crop or bushel counter in the tractor, but they yield inside to what they actually do everything they can do. And it might be, a compost pile. It might be, switching out a product. It might be coming to the beach and getting your feet wet for reals and not just hearing or talking about it, and then taking those blessings back home as well. And the people I work with, most of them recognize they're going to be here a while, and so at that point they want to develop a system that allows them some security and stability, allows them to sustain it, right? This is with practices and management. And then at that point, they want to reap the benefits. We reap what we sow of building that system. And it does also translate financially with production or crops or weight or number of head and cattle, and depends on the individual. But it's still the same, working with nature. So the 4 Ps really is just a memory aid to help people understand what the podcasts that we're putting out, but really the practices of my company. We have the person, right? This is the who. We have the programs, which are different classes, different experiences that are offered. We have the partners, which is other companies and individuals, whole supply chains and logistics around the country. And then we also have the products, which help meet different needs, both in that transitionary period for regenerative growers, or, it's a high demand production system. So sometimes you have to supplement that with really high quality products that meet those needs in a healthy way that nurture the rest of the system. So those are the 4 Ps, the person or the people. We have the programs, the partners, and the products. You should expect honesty and a sometimes blunt and curt response, because the delusion that we find ourselves is real, and the goal is the healthy, wealthy, and wise. And if we lose track of what nature and what I believe to be a divine creation, if we lose the fact that we are part of that process, then we miss out on all those blessings. So when we do our half, nature can also work on our behalf. And with the podcast, I hope to highlight that different nuances to working with biological systems, different understanding of the current industrial agricultural model with a unique and definitely not industry standard perspective. We'll look at different people around the country who are facing the challenges and struggles of dealing with a high demand system with really limited resources for many people, which is why it's so important to do as much as you can with the resources you do have. So one thing that I do or offer is to be able to assess what the real potential is versus the limitations that we think we're stuck with. And a lot of times that's about supply chains. What's the waste that you're trying to get rid of a biological system, and see potentially, ways to maximize or maintain that momentum, because before it was a problem, now it's a part of the solution. Oh, Instagram, I do the gram. Yeah. I don't know. Some people send me letters. There's always, you get my phone number, you can call me, So, but it really is about connecting people with what is often missing. And it makes perfect sense why things are so hard, or that people are ill, because if we're ill-equipped, it really is because we don't have the right tools to perform the functions that are necessary. And that principle applies also to your land. They will laugh a lot. And I know I'm doing a good job when they say, that makes sense. And usually it's because for a long time it didn't. And then whatever puzzle, whatever perspective, whatever little tidbit from a long time ago that they heard, but it didn't quite fit, now does, and that changes their entire operation. They will never look at their operation the same way. And so it really creates massive opportunities for growth and change. It's not something where it's just sit and listen. This is about being hands-on and interactive so that those skill sets, like we're setting the skills. Those skill sets then go back with them to their farm, their ranch, wherever it might be. And nobody can take that from you. So even if you travel, like these are skill sets that you can share, and you may be in a different place and they have different resources, but these same principles apply, and it's all to be real. So the hands-on experience is a big part of it. Everybody will create and nurture and be out and about. It totally shifts the question mark around biological bug and jug products. It shifts that to an understanding of the creatures that are put into these containers. And the more people can produce and nurture on their own cultures, then the more benefits that are really possible, especially at scale, because we can supplement with resources, but the land is unique. It is special. So got to work with it too. The tip or the little trick here is to know that you're doing it. And that's why Thrive ends with IVE, because I've done this and I've done that, and you're an active participant in it. And then it becomes, well, what else can I do? And then that depends on, what other burdens and responsibilities you have. And so if we're able to thrive, then we're able to then start taking on more. And then eventually we cover our spheres of influence. And it could be thousands of acres or an individual home. I do have a website. It's wegrowwith.com. And on there's more information, different products, about the education programs that are out there, the podcast that is gonna, be a presence. We'll see what it becomes, but I know that as it moves forward, it's gonna be real. Because if it isn't, it's not. Like and subscribe, and that is pretty much the first step in action so that we can continue the conversation and make real positive change.